Hey everyone, I'm Egoqueenalexis. Love me, I know you do. And welcome back to this series of tactics videos. Today, something very important, something awesome, something new that just came out. The Genestealer Cult Codex. And with this, a brand new tactics series where we go over each and every single unit in the codex. I give my thought, how I would run them, and some basic battle tactics to use during your games with the Genestealer cult. Now, that being said, open up your forearms because we're going to be talking about Cult Ambush today, which is one of the most confusing parts of this new codex. It's a blip, and we'll figure that one out together. So, without any further ado, let's take a look at how this works. Using aspects of this book is Cult Ambush. So before you, I have a standard Genestealer cult army list. This includes heavy weapons of 2 different squads, a Brood Brothers squad including a mortar, 2 units of Acolyte hybrids, a unit of Aberrants with various weaponry, a Goliath truck, and over here we have the Rock Lobster. We also have 3 HQs in this army right here that's in front of you. We have 2 Megas and 1 Acolyte Icon Ward. We also do have 2 Primuses and a few other things for my Genestealer cult. This is what I've had for the longest time. The other stuff that was taken was unfortunate, but I did get it back, and now I need to strip all of the bad paint that's on it and redo them. But I digress. That's not the purpose of this video. So, going over how Cult Ambush works, let's read the rule first. During deployment, you can set up units in ambush instead of on the battlefield if they have the infantry or biker keyword. You can either set them up in ambush or underground instead of on the battlefield. When you set up a unit underground, it can emerge at the end of any movement. It can emerge at the end of any of your movement phases. Set up the unit anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from any opponent. So, setting them up underground is essentially their deep strike. Now, I am going to refer to it as deep strike, and if you have a problem with that, clearly you haven't been playing this game that long, because that is the new deep strike, where you emerge 9 inches away from your opponent. So that's the deep striking aspect of Cult Ambush, which you can do with bikers as well as infantry. And on the bike squads, they're kind of amazing. I'm not even gonna lie. It's actually awesome because they have a 12-inch incinerator, which is a heavy flamethrower, and it's amazing. When you set up a unit in ambush, now this is ambush, place 1 ambush marker anywhere on the battlefield that is wholly within your deployment zone. You will need 1 ambush marker for each unit that you will deploy in this way. So ambush markers, which are over here, represent the models that are going to be placed in your deployment zone, not the ones deep striking. Keep that in mind. If you set up a transport in ambush, you must still tell your opponent that there's dude guys inside it. Like for instance, the Goliath with the Aberrants inside it, the Rock Lobster with heavy weapons inside it, or various stuff inside it. Ambush markers are not units and cannot be targeted for attacks or destroyed. When measuring to or from an ambush marker, you always measure from the center of the marker. Now, I wish I would do that with all other markers in the game. If you are playing a mission that uses concealed deployment, and concealed deployment rules only apply to units that do not have the Cult Ambush ability. If you are playing a mission that uses sentries, whatever, not important, no one plays those. We're just talking about how Cult Ambush works. Revealing ambush markers. If you have the first turn, you must reveal all of your ambush markers at the start of your movement phase. one at a time before moving any unit. Each time you reveal an ambush marker, select one unit from your army that you've set up an ambush. Then set up one model from that unit wholly within 1 inch of the ambush marker. Then remove that marker before setting up the rest of the unit's models. Units wholly within 6 inches of the first, you have to set them in so that they're wholly within 6 inches of that first model placed, similar to the old deep striking rules of 7th edition, which I can see that they're paying a nod to with this. Wholly within your deployment zone and more than 9 inches away from any enemy model. Any model that cannot be placed are destroyed. If it is your turn, you can still move and shoot normally during the turn it is set up. But if it is a transport unit that units disembark from this, they cannot be set up within 9 inches of an enemy. So if you ambush the transport, it can't then deploy guys that are within, charge distance of your opponent, essentially getting out and then moving up. So keep that in mind as well. Note that even though such units have arrived as reinforcements this turn, unless they actually move during this phase, they do not count as having moved in their movement phase for any rules purposes, such as shooting heavy weapons. Really important. If your opponent has first turn, then none of their units can be set up or end its movement within 9 inches of any ambush marker. Means you can always get your ambush markers out. At the end of your opponent's first movement phase, after they have set up all of their units from reinforcements, if any, reveal all of your ambush markers as described above before continuing the turn. So you do get a full turn of, your opponent not knowing what they're moving to engage. Now, to make that simple, because that was a lot of wording and very difficult to understand, we're going to make this a hell of a lot easier. So, let's toss this over there. How this actually works, and really quickly how it works. Do you see how many units you have? Cool, right? Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, we have 11 units. So we get 11 chippity chips. So 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. Okay? Now, there are stratagems that actually add false bloops, and we are going to call these bloops because it's really funny, or blips. Anyway, if you're putting something in a transport, it does not get an ambush marker. So let's just say we set up this unit within this, okay? No ambush marker for them. No, they've done bad. Anyway, so now you have 10 ambush markers because you have 10 different units. Now, always try to make your opponent deploy first. Like, it is one of the best things ever because Cult is not going to get the +1 for, going first. Because there's simply too many models, except maybe against Guard or Orks. Horde armies. Maybe Tyranids. So, what you do is you take up all of your objective markers. You determine the board style that you're using. If you're using Dawn of War, it's the easiest. So we'll just say that for this game. Your opponent places their first model, and in your deployment zone, you go, okay, I'm going to place this unit. You don't have to tell your opponent what unit that is. So that can actually be one of your heavy weapon teams, could be a character, could also be one of your vehicles. Now, this also means that, let me do a quick correction. Say we want to put this unit and this unit in deep strike so that they can come in. They don't get blips, okay? So keep that in mind. So we're going to ambush those two. So the first thing we deploy is we go ambushing, okay? And then your opponent places their first model, all right? Then you go ambushing. You don't need to place a blip anywhere, and your opponent has to deploy. Now you have 2 units of your opponents down, so you can see where they're going to start castling up or what their battle strategy is going to be. In which case, you can now take a blip, put it in your deployment zone where you want a unit to show up. Keep in mind this blip can be any unit, anyone. So your opponent has no idea how this works. Okay, well, what unit it is, and you never have to tell your opponent while deploying. So next they set up a model, you place another blip down on the map, then you go until all of your blips are placed. Then you look at your opponent's deployment zone, look at their weakened flanks and everything, and you go, I'm going to reveal one of these that are hiding at the side of the map as my heavy weapon team. Or I'm going to put this truck so that it's in the center with that one where your weakest points are. Or I'm going to put these guys up on top of a building. Now keep in mind, if you do want to deploy things within buildings or ruins, you will have to place the blips on them. So that's very important to keep track of, but then that blip cannot be a vehicle. So your opponent will know that they are not a vehicle. Now, the ambush part is essentially just deep strike. They deep strike in. They did get rid of all of the fun stuff for that. There are stratagems that make them better, but it's still really unreliable and too many points. The average Genestealer cult army is going to more than likely be a brigade because they are dirt cheap for what you can get. I think I can get a brigade at 1,000 points. And then on top of that, I can take 2 more battalions and get even more points. Especially if I ally in Tyranids, I could just take a Broodlord and 3 Ripper Swarms and 3 units of 3 Ripper Swarms and have another dirt cheap. Or I can take Brood Brothers and take Imperial Guardsmen to add even more points to my army so that I can spend them properly on the Genestealers. But the cool thing now, Genestealers hold their own. So with that, I'm going to end this video. I hope it was informative. I hope you learned how Cult Ambush worked. Keep this in mind if you are battling up against them or if you are them yourself and you wish to trick your opponent into more devastating assaults. If you would like me to go into a video where I actually show this on a 6x4 with a 2,000 point army against another 2,000 point army, it'll simply just be the deployment itself. I will go into detail there. I did go a little bit into detail in the last battle report, but I do apologize, and I want to show you something funny. I used my backup camera, which this is my backup camera. Not my cell phone, which is what I'm recording on now, but this is my backup camera. Now the problem with my backup camera and why it sucks so much is because of this. Yeah, you can imagine this thing is hard to film with. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to check out all of the other tactics videos on the channel, as well as checking out the older tactics videos for Sisters of Battle. And as new codexes come out that I am interested in, I will be doing tactics videos for them as well. And while you're commenting down below, because I know you're going to, because you love me, and giving this video a thumbs up, for some reason that's important, what you should do is check out my social media and the links in the description down below. You can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, all sorts of social media. I even have an Instagram, as well as maybe being super special awesome and checking out my Patreon. Patreon goes a long way to help support the channel and is awesome for me. It keeps my lights on, it keeps my armies fed, and it keeps me happy. Also on Patreon, you can see exclusive videos that are released once or twice a month, as well as photo shoots that I do because I am a model. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm Alexis, the Norn Queen. I love you guys. Bye.